we are going to deal with the topic Introduction to the Accounting Aspects of GST. So, what is GST? GST is an acronym of Goods and Service Tax. Goods and Service Tax is a term signifying one tax, one nation policy. Before the introduction of GST, there were several taxes exist in India like service tax, central excise tax, VAT, value added tax. All these taxes are simply replaced by one tax policy called GST. Okay, the whole nation is following one tax policy. Whole India is following one tax policy, and that is called goods and service tax. And who are the parties which have to pay, which are liable to pay GST? All the end users, all the users who are consuming goods from the market are liable to pay GST. Okay. Next is, what are the components of GST? There are three components for GST. One is CGST, that is Central Goods and Service Tax, SGST, State Goods and Service Tax, and finally IGST, Integrated Goods and Service Tax. So let's see in detail when we have to pay CGST, SGST and IGST and all. Okay. So we have two types of transaction. One is intrastate transaction and other is intrastate transaction. Okay. So intrastate transaction means transaction which takes place within the states. Both buyer and seller remains with the same states. It's called intrastate transaction. When it comes to interstate transaction, transaction takes place between two states. The buyer is in Kerala and seller is in Delhi or somewhere else, some other state. Okay, that transaction can be called as interstate transaction. Okay. So in intrastate transaction, if the transaction takes place within the state, we have to pay CGST and SGST in equal proportion. Okay, for example, if GST is 16%, so CGST will be 8% and SGST will be 8%. We have to divide it equally. In equal proportion, we have to pay CGST and SGST if transaction is intrastate transaction. Okay, if transaction is interstate transaction, that is transaction takes place between two states, we have to pay IGST. Okay, so CGST means Central Goods and Service Tax, the tax which is payable to central government. SGST means State Goods and Service Tax, that is tax which have to pay to state government. IGST means Integrated Goods and Service Tax, which is paid to the central government, and further it will be shared between states. So these are the components of GST. Next is, which all are the accounts have to followed by a trader? Normally, there were several accounts prepared by a trader, that is cash account, purchase account, sales account. Apart from all those accounts, trader have to maintain input CGST account, output CGST account, input SGST account, output SGST account, input IGST account, output IGST account, and finally electronic cash ledger. These all are the separate accounts which has to be maintained by a trader. Okay, in which all cases we have to pay input CGST, input SGST. If we are making a purchase, we have to pay input CGST and input SGST. If we are selling something, we have to collect output SGST and output CGST from the customers. So these are the basic idea relating to GST. Let's do a problem. So let's see an example. Mr. X purchased goods rupees 1 lakh locally. Okay, this is just a purchasing goods from the market locally. From this word locally, it is understood that it is a intrastate transaction. So what GST has to pay? What GST has to pay? CGST and SGST. So journal entry will be purchase account debtor to creditors. This will be the normal journal entry while we are purchasing something from the market. In order to include CGST and SGST, the journal entry will be purchase account debtor, input CGST account debtor, input SGST account debtor to creditors. Journal entry will be like this while we are purchasing something from the market locally. It includes CGST and SGST. So the purchasing entry will be purchasing account debtor, input CGST account debtor, input SGST account debtor to creditors. Okay. Next is when he sells something. We sell something. Next transaction is sold them for rupees 1,50,000 in the same state. He is selling the same thing in the same state. It is directly given that it is intrastate transaction. So the journal entry will be debtors account debtor to sales. This will be the normal journal entry while we are purchasing something from the market. Okay. In order to include CGST and SGST, the journal entry will be debtors account debtor to sales to output CGST to output SGST. This will be the journal entry. Okay, so this will be these all are the items related to CGST, and these all are the basic terms relating to CGST and SGST and IGST. Okay, so that's all about GST.